Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second shelf and to the first book haul of 2020. Yeah, I bought myself some new books and I'm excited. Can you tell? And I want to share them with you. And the first one is a translated work, The Remainder by Alia Trabuco Serran. Tell me where the emphasis is if you speak Spanish. Translated from the Spanish by Sophie Hughes. On the book cover, yeah. But then what do? They just, destroy this whole good feeling about the book cover by including two stickers printed. Sigh. Alia Trabuco Serran is a Chilean author. So the book is translated from the Spanish and it was published in 2015 in Chile. It was her debut novel and it was published 2018 in the English translation. And as you can see on the sticker, it was shortlisted for the Man Booker International. I'm reading this for the Read Around the World book club, which I've mentioned a million times before, but I'm still leaving a link down in the description box to the Goodreads group if you want to join, where we read a different book by a female author from a different country each month. I don't know that much about this. I know that Sean loved it, Sean the Book Maniac, and that it's about three children, Iquele, Felipe, and Paloma, and Paloma's mother died, and the mother lived in exile in Germany, from what I understood, and the body was supposed to be transferred by plane to Chile, but ends up in Argentina. So the three children embark on a quote-unquote road trip in order to get Paloma's mother's body back home. And the Chile is covered in ash. It's not Chile, it's Chile, because it's not something to eat, it's a country. Anyway, it's Sunday, people. You have to forgive me. So anyway, it seems to be kind of a road trip theme, but that's all I know. And Mel from Mel's Bookland Adventure, who already read the book, who is running the World Around the Book Club, she also loved it. So I'm hoping that I will love it just as much. On to the second book, and that is Marilynne Robinson's Home, the second book in the Gilead series, and this one was first published in 2008, I think. I'll leave the correct date down below if I'm mistaken. Like I said, people, it's Sunday. I read, Marilynne Robinson is an American author, and most of you will have either read her or at least heard of her. And last year I read the first in this Gilead series called Gilead. And even though the religious theme of this family of Reverend Ames, didn't really speak to me that much emotionally, but I loved the language and I was interested particularly in one of the characters, and that's Jack, the lost son of Reverend Ames's best friend, who's also a reverend. And this book, the second one, focuses on Jack. So I'm interested in reading more about Jack's background history. If you're not familiar with Gilead, it's set in a small town, and the protagonist of the first book, like I said, is a reverend, and he deals with issues of forgiveness and family, and especially when Jack, the long-lost son of his best friend, comes home after 20 years, and it turns out that Jack, he was a bad boy and he's still a bad boy, and he did things in his past that are not good morally, and he struggles with addiction. But we don't learn that much in Gilead about Jack's backstory, especially about those 20 years when he was gone from home. And I was interested enough, and I liked the first book enough to want to know Jack's backstory. So that's why I picked up Home. Oh, and I forgot to mention, again with the stickers, Uh, I saw, when I saw the sticker, that this book also qualifies for one of the prompts of the Reading Women Challenge. I talked about that extensively, so I will just leave a link to the Reading Women website and the 2020 challenge down below. And one of the challenges is read a Women's Prize for Fiction winner or a Stella Prize winner. And this book won the Orange Prize, which is the predecessor of the Women's Prize. So I guess I can tweak this prompt and read home for this challenge. The next book I bought is for a group buddy read that will start on the 20th, I think, of January, and that is Yi Yun Lee, The Vagrants, first published in 2009. Yi Yun Lee is a Chinese-American writer. So she was born in China and she immigrated to the US in 1996, and she writes in English. I've read two of her books last year. Her latest novel, When Reason Ends, an autobiographical fictionalized account of the death of Yi Yun Lee's son, who killed himself. And the book is a long conversation, an imagined conversation between a mother and her son who killed himself. And I also read her memoir, From My Life, I Write to You in Your Life. And I really enjoyed both books, enjoyed quote unquote, because they are not enjoyable subjects, but the writing is beautiful, and I really wanted to read her backlist. So when we decided that her debut novel would be our buddy read, I was really happy about that, because it's one of the books that I wanted to read anyway. This book is set in 1970s China, and we follow a main character, a young woman, Gu Shan, who has lost her belief in communism, in Maoism, and is now political prisoner as a dissident and is about to be executed. And then there is her mother and her father and friends. That's basically all I know, and that's enough for me, because like I said, I wanted to read Yi Yun Lee's debut novel anyway. So I'm looking forward to our buddy read, and I will keep you posted how that all goes once I finish the book. The next book that I want to show you that I bought is a book that I've been meaning and wanting to read for, I don't know, 10 years, maybe 20 years, and that's Christina Stead, The Man Who Loved Children, first published in 1940. It's quite a chunker of a book, which is good, because again, one of the challenges of the Reading Women's is for 2020 is read a book over 500 pages. And this certainly qualifies. Christina Stead was an Australian author of the beginning of the 20th century, mid-20th century. She died 1983. And this is her most well-known book about a dysfunctional family. We have the parents, Henny and her husband, and Henny doesn't like her children, but her husband, what's his name, Paul? Oh no, Sam. Sam, he loves his children, but he is smothering them anyway, The Man Who Loved Children. And from what I understood, the story focuses mainly on one of the children, Louisa, an 11-year-old girl. I'm buddy reading this with two other booktubers, Sharon from Sharon Go Forth and Kathy from Grim Reads. And we're starting it tomorrow, on Monday. We're taking it slow, so don't expect a review coming soon, because we are reading 100 pages a week. So with a book over 500 pages, this will take us into February before we finish. But I'm finally reading this book that has been lingering in my mind for 20 years. The next two books that I bought are for a reading challenge that I set up for myself for 2020. I will leave a link to my video about my reading plans down below, so you can check out more details if you want to. Anyway, one of the challenges is that I wanted to read through the decade between 2010 and 2019. And I already told you that this is not the decade. The new decade starts next year. But anyway, I decided to read books from 2010 to 2019, a fiction and a non-fiction book for each year that I missed. I was looking through the publications of these particular years, and then I will choose 2 books, a novel and a non-fiction book for each year. So I'm starting with 2010, and I already talked about these books in my video about my plans. The fiction book that I chose is a debut novel by Heidi Büro, The Girl Who Fell from the Sky, obviously published in 2010. And there was a lot of praise for this book, and I remember that I heard about that book. I don't know whether it was in 2010 or a little bit later, but I've never read it. It's the story of Rachel, the child of a biracial child, and she is the only survivor, that's what it says on the blurb, of a family tragedy when she's in her early teens. And then she has to live with her quite strict black grandmother, so the mother of her father. It's set in the 1980s. I've received mixed reactions when I announced that I will be reading this book for the year 2010, but like I said, it's a book that I knew about but have missed. So I'm looking forward to reading it, and we'll see whether whether I agree with some of you who said, well, they were kind of disappointed. But hope dies last, so I still have hope that this will be a good book. And the nonfiction pick for 2010, as you might remember if you watched my 2020 plans video, is a biography by Stacy Schiff, Cleopatra. Stacy Schiff won the Pulitzer Prize for previous biography, so she writes biographies, and I'm interested in Cleopatra anyway, and there's not that much out there about this woman's life, which I feel is a fascinating woman. So when I saw this and I hadn't read it, it was an easy choice for me to pick this book for the nonfiction of 2010. I will be buddy reading this with Heidi from My Reading Life. I'll leave a link to her channel down below, and by the way, all the other channels that I mentioned, of course, who has a fascinating, fantastic channel. If you're not familiar with her, and especially if you're interested in nonfiction, please check her out because she reads a lot of nonfiction. So we are reading this book together as soon as Heidi gets hold of a copy. And because she reads so much nonfiction, I'm really looking forward to reading this book with her. So these were my buys, my January book haul. I don't think I will buy any more books in January. You never know, but I don't think so. As you know, my rule is don't buy more books than you read. And this is already quite a stack, so I think I should hold off for a little bit. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to your comments as always, and I'll see you all soon in the next one. Bye-bye.